I would like to kick off with an introduction on biomethane in transport and what we do within the European Biogas Association. But let me just first quickly show you what we stand for. The European Biogas Association is representing 28 countries within Europe. And this is representing, again, directly and indirectly, around about 7,000 stakeholders within Europe. We're really sizable and good and sustainable industry within Europe. Within that, we are, of course, producing statistical data, market reports, but also, and more importantly, we continue to do research to see how we further can strengthen the agroecology by embedding the biogas sector within our society. So we are really, I would say, really driven by making sure that we can help Europe in the green transition we are in right now, and of course, especially with regard to the transport. Just to have a quick overview on the size of our industry. We have been around already for quite some time. And till now, we have round about, say, roughly 18,000 biogas facilities throughout Europe. How did that come about? Many years ago, say 25 years ago, we already started with this sector and producing green electricity. Actually, our industry enabled the production of green electricity within Europe. That has been moving up quite quickly over the past years. But we are also happy that we see that the production of green electricity has been taken over now by wind and solar, so we can focus on something different. Because we are a versatile sector and we can produce not only electricity or green heat, but we can also produce from biogas, natural gas, bio-natural gas or biogenic natural gas. So in the slide here, you can see that over the years till 2018, we have increased our production facilities of biomethane. For you to know, and good to know, is that our current producing electricity and heat producing facilities can actually transform also to biomethane facilities. And what you see in the past few years, this is going to be going faster and faster. In the last 2 years, and we mapped this out in the last 2 years, an increase of 51% of our biomethane facilities has happened. And the reason is that within Europe, we need to decarbonize our gas grid. So for that, there is a lot of interest to have the biomethane or the biogas sector facilitate this. So within this, we can produce a lot of biogas and biomethane even more in future. Currently 18 countries producing biomethane, but most of them are still in countries like in Germany, the UK, especially France, which is growing, Denmark and the Netherlands. But there are many other countries which can and possess a lot of potential. So if we look at the total potential of biomethane, then we can see we have a lot to offer, not only to the transport sector within Europe, but also to other sectors. So if we look at the total natural gas consumption, which is now, we see that that will decline over future. We made within the Gas for Climate Consortium a overview on the potential of both biomethane and hydrogen to offset the fossil natural gas in future. And we see that in 2030, we can already produce round about 35 billion cubic meters, round about 350 terawatt hours of biomethane. In 2050, we can even further increase that, and we can go to 95 billion cubic meters, or 1,200 terawatt hours. This is giving a huge chance for Europe to decarbonize the gas grid, decarbonize transport, and at the same time we can also help the agriculture to shift more to an agroecology approach. For that, I will present a little bit later in the next slide. But if we are going to increase biomethane, we actually are going to use a part of the existing natural gas network. And why is that important? If we are going to do that, we don't have to put in a complete new infrastructure. We can use the infrastructure which is there, saving per annum and 19 billion euros per year. Also, in total, if we do that together with biomethane and hydrogen offsetting in 2050, we save an extra cost of 14 billion because of lower energy costs. So there is a lot of advantage, or there are a lot of advantages to promote biomethane and hydrogen to make sure that we have a sustainable future and we can decarbonize the several sectors. If we look to transport, and we look in particular to biomethane, biomethane has a very good life cycle analysis. So in the total picture of both production as well as the recycling part, our industry has a big role to play within the alternative fuels. So I promised to get back to how we're going to do this, because we are now not producing as much as we can. So where do we get this from? So we looked within Europe for the several feedstocks we could use to produce biomethane. Of course, we are already producing, with these 18,000 plants, we are already producing 16 billion cubic meters. Beside that, we're producing 2.2 billion cubic meters on biomethane. So we have in total already a potential of 18, but we can go even higher than that. And of course, naturally, we can use manure, but there are also food waste and sequential cropping we can use. And this last part is important as well. Sequential cropping means that there is a main crop for producing food, which we need within Europe. But especially in the warmer countries in Europe, you can also produce a second crop after that, a second crop which you can use for bioenergy. But we need to make sure that we do this in a sustainable way. So this sequential cropping is done to promote agroecology, to make sure that we can recover the soil within Europe, because we have a problem in nutrients with the soil. But also, if we do that in that way, we minimize the use of chemical fertilizers. And in that, we are also making sure that we also are reducing the greenhouse gases even further, because we use natural fertilizers. So, if we look in the transport sector, it is important to realize that the transport sector is around about 1/3 of the total greenhouse gas emissions within Europe. And also important to realize that this is the only sector since 2014 which has not been able to reduce the greenhouse gases. Actually, it increased over time, despite the good efforts to also electrify some of the transport. So what our industry can offer, together with the CNG vehicles which are already there, is that we can decarbonize the transport. So just to give you a few numbers, we can produce this 35 billion cubic meters of biomethane, which is 230 terawatt hours. Of that, 117 terawatt hours can be used within the transport by 2030, which represents 40% of the total CNG consumption, and we can reduce 55% the greenhouse gas emissions from the transport. And the beauty of that is biomethane is already there. It's sustainable and advanced biofuel, biofuel, and it's scalable. We can immediately make sure that we can make an impact. So that's the positive side. Then we have to look also on where the studies have showed what the impact is. We made an analysis since 2010, and all studies, including the European studies of 2014, but all studies also from car manufacturers are showing that biomethane is a very good solution and actually can offer carbon negative impact in the transport sector. To go a little bit in detail, it shows here the JRC study, and this is a JRC study of 2014. And if you look in the table and you can find biomethane, it shows the highest greenhouse gas emission savings potential of all alternative fuels. And this has not changed over the years. Even better, if we are going to use more and more sustainable production, we can up this number. And in the total life cycle analysis or wheel-to-wheel analysis, it still comes out as one of the best alternative fuels. What I would like to show you here is the example of Sweden. Sweden recognized that biomethane could play an important role within the transport sector. So what they did was they actually promoted fossil natural gas, the natural gas vehicles, to take a share within the transport. Because the reasoning behind it is that if they could increase then immediately also the biomethane, they could actually decarbonize the transport. And look at the numbers, what they have achieved. 94% of biomethane is now the share within the transport sector of the natural gas vehicles, which actually makes that the transport sector of natural gas vehicles has a carbon negative overall emission instead of a positive. This is how we can actually help to decarbonize the transport. Following the example of Sweden, what could this impact, or could this have for an impact for the car manufacturers within Europe? The car manufacturers in Europe actually have on the shelf the CNG vehicles already. They're producing it right now. And the beauty of that as well is that we can produce this fully within Europe. So we do not have to import batteries. We do not have to mine the minerals which are necessary to do so. We can all do it already. The CNG engine has a lower greenhouse gas footprint than any other engine, which means that if you use that then together with biomethane, you can make sure that the total carbon footprint is good as well. So this is why we can use the existing production lines, and we can scale up already with the biogas potential we have within Europe and make sure that the transport sector is going to decarbonize. So to conclude, biomethane is really embedded within the society. We are in agricultural sector, but we are also in the municipal waste sector. We're also in the wastewater treatment sector. Biogas can be used in many different ways, and we are part of the society. It's a solution for organic waste, and it will strengthen also the agroecology part, because we can use, say, the sequential cropping and other agricultural residues and increase the biodiversity which is needed within Europe. We increase the nutrient recycling. And with that, we can strengthen also the rural economic development, giving green jobs, and this will allow for a very versatile sector, I would say, within Europe. You can read about this, about biomethane as transport fuel. And I would encourage you to do so, to read our last position paper with regard to that. But to fully conclude, green gas is there and it's part of the Green Deal. and we really can make an impact, and we can make a positive impact. And we must make sure that all the regulations which are there in Europe is recognizing this and helping that all alternative fuels like biomethane can play an important role.